Yeah, so I've taken this reminded me of part of the first chapter of the Working Together textbook, which if the students haven't heard of, it's perfect. You could download the whole thing right now and read it front to back.
So get the link to pop up. It's the first textbook that was authored by Indigenous psychologists here in Australia, including Pat Dudgeon, who's been mentioned.
And it's just coming up to its 10th anniversary, I think, this week or next week or something. So, but so they talk about the Queensland test, which was used to measure cognitive ability. And in the 1950s, they used this test on 1,000 Aboriginal children and adults. And they found that Aboriginal people fared like much worse on this test than Europeans. But that they, and so it was used to sort of prove that, Indigenous peoples have a lower cognitive ability, that we were subhuman and all those kind of things. But they also looked at the degree of contact with white Australian culture. And so the more that Indigenous peoples had contact with white Australian culture, the better they fared on this test. And they concluded from this, I think I have the name, McElwain concluded from these tests that, having contact with white culture improves your cognitive ability. And so it makes you, it's really good for you. Like we're bringing these people up in the world, but obviously, and so that's, one way that this test was misused, because clearly what we know now, and what I hope most people would be able to accept, is that the test was culturally biased towards European people, and the more contact that you had with European culture, the better you were at this test that tested your specifically European cultural cognitive ability.
I was saying to another person I was interviewing, Emily, about when I learned about these biases, it was because the test included items like, cup is to saucer as plate is to table. And you had to identify the analogy, right? But of course, if you don't have a cup or a saucer, or for that matter, a table, this all becomes extremely abstract and arbitrary. So
and this isn't just an Indigenous problem either. Like my mum was a primary school teacher for her whole career, and in New South Wales, to determine what reading group you went in primary school, you did this test. I can't remember what it was called, but this reading test that started off, it had pictures, and you had to identify and write what the pictures were, and then it slowly got more difficult until the end you were filling in whole sentences with what words were missing. And my mum, in her lifetime as a teacher, saw students start failing on the first page more and more often because there was a picture of a television, but it was a television with the rabbit ears, and students over time started writing that it was a microwave because they'd never seen a television before. And so this test, I don't know, used to test students' reading ability, but now it was testing people's historical knowledge of appliances in Australia.
That's so interesting and important. So for students that don't know, televisions used to be really boxy, even though now they're thin, like a computer monitor. That's really, really funny to people in the older generation like me.
Yeah.